Here we have a third generation BMW X3. Now, all vehicles have their problems. Today, we're gonna go over the top 5 problems that we have found with this vehicle. Before we start, if you need parts for your vehicle, make sure you click the link in the description, head over to 1aauto.com. Now let's get into our first problem. Let's talk about the valve cover. Now there's a little engine cover right here. We need to pull that off. That slides out of the way. The problem with the valve cover is it's made of plastic, and with all that heating and expanding, they tend to warp and become brittle over time. So you're gonna end up with an oil leak. Replacing the gasket alone may not fix your problem. You're better off replacing the whole valve cover itself. This job looks a little bit intimidating, but if you take it piece by piece, it's not really that bad. The hardest part would be the direct fuel injection. You might have to get a little bit involved with that, but again, piece by piece, you can do it. And because this is a straight 6 engine, you only have 1 valve cover, so you don't have to do 2. While we're here, let's talk about the next problem, the ignition coils. The symptoms you're gonna have with faulty ignition coils is the engine's running rough and the check engine light is flashing. A common reason why the ignition coils fail is because of too much heat, and high performance engines demand a lot from the ignition coils. And if you need performance ignition coils, you can get those at 1aauto.com. The next problem we're going to talk about is the blower motor. Now, the symptoms you're going to have is the blower motor stops working, so you go to turn the heat or AC on and nothing's blowing out, or you may have some excessive noise coming from the dash. Luckily for this generation of X3s, the blower motor is actually behind the glove box. It's a lot easier to get to than former generations where it's under the hood. Overall, the blower motor is an easy job in this vehicle, so don't be afraid to do it on your own. Now we're underneath the vehicle, going on to another problem, the transmission oil pan. It's located right here, and it's plastic. It's gonna give you a similar problem to those valve covers. You're gonna have a cracking issue or some warpage. That's gonna cause a leak. You may not notice a leak right away because you're gonna have a shield or a cover underneath here. The fluid's gonna collect in there and eventually drip on the ground. So if you have some fluid dripping on the ground further back from the engine, it could be your transmission oil pan. And the last problem we're gonna talk about is the water pump. It's located at the front of the engine. The symptoms you're gonna have is coolant dripping on the ground or the engine overheating. Now for this generation, BMW went back to a mechanical water pump instead of an electric one. It's not on the side of the block anymore. It's on the front of the engine, driven by the serpentine belt. So there's our top 5 problems on this BMW X3. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe to our channel, ring the bell, turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. Ah, battery's dead. Before we start, we're gonna go over the top 5 problems that we've found on it right now. All right.